My name is Miles Morales.
There are great expectations for Miles Morales.
I'm Brooklyn's one and only Spider-Man.
From both the people he's tasked with saving in his world, and from us pure viewers to the thrills of that heroism. And Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse's boundless energy challenges those expectations at every turn. After 2018's Into the Spider-Verse, which many, including present company, consider the best Spider-Man movie to date, the kid who had to learn that anyone could wear the mask has to reckon with what to do with it while the world is watching, and how to hold on to agency in his own story when the past, present, and future are all screaming at him to do things the way they are supposed to be done.
Not bad, kid.
Across the Spider-Verse is as reverent an ode to web-slinging and to the storytelling possibilities of animation as its forerunner. But the substance doesn't always overcome the style here, and the specifics of Across the Spider-Verse's story often get lost in the unstoppable pace of the action. The multiverse is a consistently exciting yet perilous proving ground for Miles, and though it isn't perfect, his next big leap as Spider-Man confirms his elevation to hero status was no fluke.
All stations, drop what you're doing and stop Spider-Man.
Wait, you?
Miles Morales, he's entering Sector 4!
A year on from defeating Kingpin and the destruction of his multiverse-shaking super collider, Miles is proving himself to be a true Spider-Man by struggling to balance his personal and heroic obligations.
Just missed a few classes.
Oh, just a few classes. Well, what's a few?
He's made significant strides in his day-to-day web-slinging, even honing his unique invisibility and Venom Strike abilities without Peter B. Parker's mentorship. Where Miles struggles most, though, is seeing himself in a larger context and continuing to come to terms with what his great power means for his growingly complicated future.
It's the first time for everything, right?
That plays out in the expected strife going on between the teen Miles and his parents Rio and Jefferson as they clash over his attitude and desire to take early college courses a whole one state over.
All right, whatever.
Whatever?
Wow.
Whatever?
Miles' early and dismissive encounters with D-tier villain The Spot and his many holes have surprising consequences and provide the catalyst needed to put Miles back in the path of his more experienced extra-dimensional counterparts.
So are you like a cow or a Dalmatian?
Across the Spider-Verse extrapolates the self-doubt Miles feels in preparing for the next chapter in both of his lives into a full-blown multiversal action epic, with countless spider beings swinging by to needle his fragile sense of belonging. Shameik Moore's performance channels the subtlety of what 1 year can do to a teen boy's demeanor and strikes a good balance between Miles' more pronounced angst, which is exacerbated by doubters on all sides, with the sensitive, tender heart of the gifted and good guy we know him to be.
You gotta promise, Miles.
I promise.
Across the Spider-Verse impressively does so without ever pushing hard enough in one direction to make any of his choices feel outlandish or out of step with where his character is in the narrative.
I gotta go. All right, bye.
Even in a reality where one could throw a bagel and hit a spider person, Miles is still singled out for his role in upsetting the Spider-Verse by Spider-Man 2099 Miguel OHara.
What's a guy gotta do to join this spider team?
You can never be part of this.
Portrayed by a hard-nosed Oscar Isaac. Miguel leads the multiverse-defending Spider Society, and his dogmatic attention to the personal cost all spider people historically have to pay to wield their great power with the greatest possible sense of responsibility forces an ideological split between him and Miles.
You have a choice between saving one person and saving every world.
I can do both!
Miguel's warlike, anything to protect the multiverse stance doesn't demonstrate much empathy, which is, a baseline for most heroes. And Isaac keeps his seething performance in line with a leader who, as written, seems closed off to any tactical possibilities that don't involve sacrificing a piece of oneself for the greater good.
Being Spider-Man is a sacrifice.
Caught in between these two battling perspectives is Gwen Stacy, whose increased share of the narrative leaves her with as much, if not more, influence on the story's direction as Miles. This investment in Gwen is clear from the jump. Across the Spider-Verse's impactful opening sequence largely follows her struggle to find common ground with her dad, Captain Stacy, and sets up her complicated and rich reasons for choosing when and how to help Miles on his own journey.
You and me, it's...
We're the same.
Directors Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson use Miles to double down on Into the Spider-Verse's themes of accepting one's own potential, which leaves the Gwen material here feeling a little fresher. It's impressive that the sequel doesn't just use the extended cast for pure novelty value, but takes care to flesh them out further. The character work is especially important in the face of Across the Spider-Verse's more complicated plot, which drops details and foreshadowing faster than Peter Parker could web them up and manfully scream as he holds them all together. That face would look something like this.
Oh, the tree!
After the universal acclaim rightly heaped on Into the Spider-Verse's singular animation, there was never any doubt that Across the Spider-Verse would aim to up the ante. And on a technical level, Across the Spider-Verse is a wonder. Just like it's taken years to come to a more full appreciation of Into the Spider-Verse's densely textured vision of all things Spider-Man, it's gonna take time to unpack every little embellishment, every frame rate change that slyly points to characters having high or low status in comparison to one another, but the sum of those parts here is instantly readable as a refinement of the techniques deployed or pioneered by Into the Spider-Verse. And for anyone who just needed to hear that this movie is better looking than the last one, well, hey, congratulations, this movie's better looking than the last one. The supporting voice cast rises to meet the standard setting animation, with committed and engaged performances from both the new and returning cast. Peter B. Parker returns to support Miles, and Across the Spider-Verse smartly ties that support to the parental tendencies Peter displayed towards his young protege last time.
Come on, go easy on the kid. He had a terrible teacher.
Of course, Miles is no longer Peter's youngest protege, as Peter spends most of the movie babysitting his new infant Mayday, which really just translates to him actively training this infant while on the job. Rampant multiversal tampering, death-defying clashes between realities, and Peter doesn't even bother to web Mayday into her papoose.
Did you bring our baby to another fight?
He asked me not to, so I didn't.
It's totally in line with the aloof, schlubby Peter we fell in love with last time, and Jake Johnson is again a constant source of laughs. Daniel Kaluuya also stands out as the self-assured Spider-Punk and the kick-ass anti-authoritarian who paradoxically finds himself serving a multiversal police force is such a cool wild card, I think I have to spell wild with a Y.
That's not funny.
And although the villain's personal ties to Miles aren't all that convincing, Jason Schwartzman's Spot ends up coming out of Across the Spider-Verse having made a surprisingly strong impression.
I am the Spot.
Much like Miles when he started his journey, the Spot struggles to harness his power in service of his goal. And Schwartzman expectedly bumbles his way through those early attempts at getting justice for himself.
What you doing back there, man?
Nothing. Everything's cool, man.
Once his anger focuses those abilities into something truly dangerous though, Across the Spider-Verse strikingly animates the character's malice in harsh, inky scrawlings that evoke angry threats scratched in the back of a notebook. And Schwartzman's performance shifts from bumbling to disturbed to match that edgy, violent quality. Daniel Pemberton's score likewise grows and shifts with the changes in style that pervade the film and further add to the vital pulse that keeps the movie moving. The frenetic pace at which Across the Spider-Verse pinballs from frame to frame is dazzling and exhausting. For all the glorious tableaus of spider action that the movie treats us to, and there are plenty, trust me, the comparatively simple and quiet moments can often pack as hard a punch. A rooftop catch-up between Miles and Gwen, with each relaying the difficulties that have come with maintaining family relationships, is staged with the heroes hanging upside down and taking in a view of New York City from a perspective only they can. It's about as much space as the movie gives the two characters to explore their complicated feelings for superheroism and for the solace they find in one another.
In every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man.
These pure character beats are rare for Across the Spider-Verse, but that they connect so effectively is a good indicator that the heart of the story beats strong, even when the logic-bending plot becomes too difficult to parse. Across the Spider-Verse has no illusions about being the middle chapter in a trilogy, But the structural pitfalls that come with setting up an exciting finale do end up taking some of the air out of the climax of the film, especially with how abruptly things come to a close.
If not for Uncle Ben, most of us wouldn't be here.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse surges with visual inventiveness and vibrance in an undeniably strong evolution of the style established in Into the Spider-Verse. Miles and Gwen's search for their place in the multiverse is exciting and relentless, almost to a fault. And though the plot is often an afterthought to the pure chaos of creation on display, strong performances and character arcs that feel true to the heroes we met last time help ensure that Across the Spider-Verse is a more than worthy follow-up to an all-time classic.
I don't see anything, boss.
Hey, thanks for watching. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Fast X and The Little Mermaid, and as always, be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you like to watch IGN.